back to the channel here for another Total War Tuesday. I'm author D.W. Hawkins, author of the Seven Signs series, a sword and sorcery epic adventure you can find on Amazon.com. Book 1 is Child of the Flames, and you can get it for $2.99. So I'm having to re-record this, mainly because I messed up the audio. So I'm kind of narrating back over a replay here of the early video I made, and let's pick up where we left off. We were going to march into Thrace and put the Thracians to the sword for the glory of Macedon. And that's pretty much what we're doing. We're besieging their main settlement there, and we're going to kind of cut down the Total War Tuesday this week because I messed up the video. But we're going to see a heroic battle here in just a moment. And this is me just trying to get a few things out of the way. Before the big battle, you're going to see what's happening here. The little guy up in the upper right hand corner there besieging the city of Popoldeva or Pupoldeva, however you say that. He's going to get attacked by an army that comes out of the woods and find himself outnumbered, and you're going to see an epic battle. But anyway, until we get to that, I'm going to take the time to tell you about a couple of free book bundles. That you can find free novellas until the end of the month, May 31st, 2019. You'll find links in the description. All the free books, they're distributed through BookFunnel, which makes it really easy to get an ebook on any device. So it's super easy. The books are free. Links in the description. Check them out, and you can find my novella, the prequel to the Seven Signs, called The Killings at Rockman's Ford, in each one of these bundles as well. There are two of them are fantasy bundles, and one of them is a all speculative fiction bundle where you can find action and adventure and historical fiction and things like that. So, whatever you're into, you'll be able to find something, that hopefully that you like. And plus it's free. So check out the links below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the videos and stuff. Comment. It really does help things out. And okay, so back to it. It looks like I'm raising a force here. I can't really remember what I was doing. I raised a fleet, I know, just to get a reward from the the Senate, or whatever you want to call it. Every now and then they give out these little faction rewards where they'll issue a mission like raise a fleet in this city, or like the larger missions, like they want you to control so many settlements and things like that. And so that's the only reason I raised a fleet there at Pella. But I believe I was sending that guy who's recruiting there, the guy in the middle of the screen, pulling up cavalry and everything. I believe I'm planning to take that army toward Anthea there, that city to the right of the screen. See, this is telling me that I can give the hero who's traveling with the army. I don't know if I spoke about that before, but if you add those guys to your army, they just supercharge your troops. They do training and all kind of stuff. They have special abilities. They can operate on their own, but when you pair them with an army, the army becomes just awesome. Just awesome. I've got another series I'll be posting here called I'm gonna call it Pompey's Greatest Hits, because I was playing an expansion for this game where it starts you just after it starts you the days of Octavian versus Antony, and I chose Pompey, which was a really hard challenge at first, but we'll go more into that in another series. But for now, you're about to see You're about to see a really awesome battle. See, here's where it happens. These guys come out of the trees and they try to take us in the rear. And you can see the balance of power there. The gold is us, that's the good guys, and the red is the enemy. And you can see he's got a bunch of Celtic tribesmen, a few slingers, some levy freemen there. That's his army on the right. Those are that's the garrison army. These are the guys that are attacking me. And you know, on the video here, I'm saying that these units are mostly worthless. You know, I'm saying I think I might be able to win it if I play things smart and I decide to go ahead and fight the battle rather than retreat, because Macedon don't retreat, baby. Macedon does not retreat. So let's see what happens. The thunderbolts of Zeus, our rock stars, our heroes versus the glory of Epona. I mean, what kind of a name? You know, I mean, come on. The glory of Epona. That just sounds weak, bro. That just sounds weak. The thunderbolts of Zeus. You know, that's a strong name. That's an army with a strong legacy. Okay, so here I am just surveying the field, and you notice it's really, you know, we've got a slope on you know, what I'm thinking of as, you know, the left side of the battlefield, but I guess it's really the western side of the battlefield there. And those tree lines, those patches of woods there, they'll protect some of my forces against a cavalry charge, and that rocky ground there also slows down a cavalry charge and makes it just a little bit less effective. And so here I'm trying to figure out where to put my infantry line, because I know these guys are going to be approaching from the red portion of the battlefield on the map there. So they're attacking me. They have to march down on me, so I can choose where to meet them. And this is where I decide to line up my hoplites. I'm going to take some high ground, put these trees and everything to my flank to help protect me. And here I'm stretching the line out just a little bit. And these are hoplites. These aren't the phalangites that Macedon was so you know, famous for later on, but these are hoplites, which are badass spear units anyway. And so here I am trying to figure out what to do with the rest of my units. I know that these guys, you know, I can put them behind the hoplites, you know, and they can just create a field of death there. Hopefully the Thracians will march toward us, turn to engage our spears, and they'll just be caught up on the hoplites, and the skirmishers can just throw javelin and just create just death fields there while the hoplites hold them back. And I believe these guys are the Royal Peltas. That's my general unit, the leader of the whole army, and here I am with a whole bunch of cavalry, which is something that I love. You know, you guys know how I feel about cavalry. So I'm trying to decide where to put all these units at this point, and I figure I'm gonna set a trap. And I'm not always you know, keen on traps. I mean, I know I try a lot of them, but most of my traps don't really work out the way I intend them to 90% of the time. But I think I've got a good chance with this one, just because of the lay of the land there. If you see, you know, you've got that wide swath running from north to south there, or kind of north to south along the battlefield, and it just creates a natural funnel for him to march up. You know, his visibility is going to be blocked by these trees, so he's not going to be able to see me. He's not going to move himself into the trees, most likely. You know, he's going to walk until he can see me, and then will be forced to turn and engage me. And then as he marches up the hill and I see him coming the whole way, I'll be able to just, you know, make him react as I want. At least that's the plan, you know. But you know what they say about battle plans? You know, they survive, you know, until first contact with the enemy. So we'll see what happens. But the plan is to let them break themselves on our spears march to certain death. By the time they get to us, they'll be tired. I'll barely have to move my infantry. They'll be well rested. I'm going to put these guys in skirmish mode so they can toss spears, run back behind the hoplites, and then they can just stand there just raining death down on our enemies. I believe I decided to keep one unit of cavalry in the backfield here. Or I say in the backfield, but that's actually in the forward portion of the battlefield from the northern end. And here I'd made a mistake and accidentally lined up all my cavalry on one side. But what I'm setting up here is I'm going to hide one wing of cavalry on the eastern side of the battlefield in the trees and one wing in the western trees of the battlefield. Both of them will be hidden from the enemy, and at the last moment I want them to run out behind the enemy as they are held in place by the hoplite spears and just hit them in the back and rout the entire army. That's the plan, and you're about to see something just amazing. So, these guys, they outnumber me. They have probably about 500 or so more men than I have, maybe 600. I think it's 500 more men, which amounts to maybe, between 3 and 5 units, depending on, some of those units have 120 men, some have 90. It just depends on what kind of unit it is. So he's got a few more units than me. And as you can see there, he's got a lot of light spearmen. I think those are those levy freemen. He's got some Celtic warriors, Celtic slingers. And, the crazy thing about slings is, a sling was actually a really wicked weapon back in the day. If you ever read anything about Roman slingers, and they have these certain types of bullets, and one of the crazy things about them is they would scream in the air, as they came down on you. And if you think about like a lead, a piece of lead fired by, a slingshot. I've seen videos of homemade slings, made of strips of leather, or I've seen some made of paracord that will just, put a dent in plywood. Imagine what it would do to your skull. Slings were actually pretty sweet weapon to carry around. Portable, probably fairly easy to make, and just devastating in the right hands. You should look it up. Make your own sling. I bet you could find a video for that somewhere. Here I am telling people to make weapons. Don't do this, and don't make weapons, kids. Don't do that. It's not a good idea. But see, now his army is I say his army, who are these guys? The glory of Epona. I believe they can see my infantry line now, and so they're marching towards me. But just like I predicted, they're coming through that natural funnel there, straight up the middle. Now his reinforcements, this is the garrison army coming from the high ground. And I know I've got to delay them because I can't afford to have them flank me while the main army is, breaking themselves on my spears. Because once hoplites get engaged, you pretty much can't turn them. I mean, that was what made the, the mythical last stand of the Spartans so crazy, is that they found a place to defend terrain-wise. It couldn't be flanked, and hoplites were just badass defensive spear infantry. Of the day, they were like nothing a lot of the Persian units had seen. But of course they were outflanked, and that's how you get spears. You outflank them, and so I cannot let the forces up on the hill outflank me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this cavalry hill here harass the main army as it's coming up, just to slow them down, just to mess with them. And I'm going to do the same thing with the unit of cavalry up on the hill. I think I had maybe 2 units up there, I can't remember. But we shall see. Okay, you can see these guys turning around to face me, and so I peel off. I'm just trying to get them to stop. You can see several units turn around. I want them to trail out and, you know, maybe thin their ranks a little bit. The more concentrated they are, you know, the harder they are to deal with. I want them to be confused, you know, kind of stuttering, and I just wanna, you know, just put a little fear into them, just harass them, and eventually, what I want them to do is to emerge out of that field there, to see my spears turn to engage, and just all get concentrated in the middle there. But what I really like to do is get rid of those skirmishers. I don't want those guys, you know, being able to fire down on my hoplites while the infantry's engaged in them, because then, you know, it'll be 2 fields of death. I want to have the only field of death on the battlefield. And so here I am. Here I am checking out what's going on up on the hill. I'm trying to hit those slingers there. I like to use cavalry early in the battles to kind of get rid of the missile units, because you know, missile units they're valuable on the battlefield. I mean, they're no good in a hand-to-hand fight, but if you've got them in the right spot, they can just multiply your force in so many ways. Well, here I made a mistake, and I told this unit to run to the other end of the battlefield when I should have told the other one. And so that kind of slowed things down for me. I think that you know, it stuttered my own charge there, gave the enemy time to get away. Here I am with this unit of cavalry on the eastern end of the battlefield. I'm just kind of using it to guide these people to where I want them. I want them. I don't want them to spread out too much. You know, I don't want them to spread their battle line out too much. I want it to be trailed out like a column and not spread into a fighting wing, if that makes sense. I just want to keep them kind of bunched up behind each other, so that when they see the infantry unit, they have no choice but to run up there. And I believe, see, these guys were able to get behind some spears there, and I lose some of this cavalry up here on the hill. But, you know, it did buy me time, and you'll see that here pretty soon, so I think it was well worth it. You know, even though these citizen cavalry guys, they just got chewed up hard here on this flank, but they fought really well, and you'll see they did a good job of keeping this force engaged long enough so that the main force, you know, was forced to engage me first, which is what I wanted. And so down here, these guys they're on the move again, and I'm going to use my cavalry again to kind of keep them on their toes. They're going to march straight through those trees, and that's going to slow them down. And so here I am. You know, I don't want these guys to march up on my flank and just, you know, stand there like a fool. So what I'm going to do is turn around to face them. However, I'm going to do it in such a way that, you know, however they meet me, they're not really going to be able to flank me. If you notice, I'm keeping those trees to my flank there, and I'm also leaving it open so that my cavalry can still hit them in the flanks whenever they hit my spears. So the whole line is moving now. You know, these spearmen, so I got lucky there that they didn't get set up. I was able to hit those Levy Freeman in the back. Let's see, I've got to draw them back real quick before I lose too many soldiers. And just gonna run way past these guys, and so now they see my units, so they're gonna run up to meet him, hopefully. And now he sends in his light cavalry, but see, he's got these light horse. I mean, they're nothing compared to my citizen cav. And so I decided to go ahead and engage these guys, tie them up, because I don't want them to be able to move too fast and be able to hit me and outflank me. I want to take away his ability to outflank me, and then I want to chew up his ranged units, so that the only units he has are forced to meet my spears, at which point I'll be able to outflank him with my fast-moving cavalry. So that's the plan. So now these guys are gonna, they fought really hard here, harassing this force. And here, I'd forgotten about the cavalry on the hill, and I'd allowed them to get marched down upon by the spear infantry. And so I lost quite a few there. It looks like they were almost to half strength, and these guys up here were surrounded by a bunch of them, and I'd lost over half of them. And so I needed to get them, out of range. And so, big mistake on my part, just not watching that part of the battle. Got too, concerned with what was going on with this unit of cavalry here. And I'm surprised right now, I think, that they haven't taken out all of these light horse, but they've taken out most of them. There's only 22 left, and I believe I had 46 in my cavalry. So now, here we see things are coming to a head. Their infantry is marching on mine, and at this point I'm pretty confident that my plan's going to work. So here it looks like I am, I don't want him to make the first move, even though I want him to to come towards me. I want to bait him into do it by moving first, right? If you move first, you can make them move how you want. But here I am telling these guys to get into phalanx formation, or here it says hoplite wall, but I mean, phalanx is the same thing. And I'd forgotten to turn on their skirmish mode. That's for the javelin men, or whatever they are there. And so, then they'll throw their javelins and then run away. And let's zoom up here and check out what's going on with the cavalry on the hill. And you can see that unit there. It's just been chewed up hard. And that was my fault, because I allowed them to get surrounded. But now that they're free of those spears, I'm going to try to, make their sacrifice worth it and run off some of those slingers. And so here I'm just, most of his units are light units. I've got the diamond again, if you weren't paying attention last week, is a medium. The circles are light, so these are, his light cavalry to my medium cavalry. And you can see his numbers are just going down. And so, I'm gonna use my cav to cycle back and forth and run off his cav and his ranged units, and hopefully I can just kill these guys in maybe a couple of charges. And by the time his infantry is fully engaged with mine, I can, hopefully have taken care of most of his specialty units. So now you can see they're marching up, and from the way they're facing, right here I'm happy, because he's not trying to get around me right here. He's gonna turn and move up to engage me, which is exactly what I want. So this is me, I believe. What was I gonna do here? I think I'm just turning him a little bit. or at least I tried to. I think this was like pretty difficult. I didn't want them to take a step backwards was the big thing. I just wanted them to kind of swing in place. But it was kind of difficult to find the right spot with a mouse and how to get them to do that. Because, you know, if you turn your back to them, that's not a good idea. That's, you know, not what you want. So here I am. This is what I'm talking about into baiting him into moving. I'm going to move half my line kind of up and to the left, and then the other half kind of up and to the right. But I want to get it to where I can swing around and, you know, kind of hit him with a mini flank, right? But I'm going to move slightly outward so that I force him to do the same, so that he's got to move up and engage me, right? So my skirmishers are already firing at him. You know, now I'm going to move my infantry, and so that's going to force him to move his in response. And now that he's close enough for ranged combat to ensue, he's got to make a move, because turning his back to me would be, you know, not a smart thing to do. So let's see how things play out here. And all right. Looks like I'm, you know, just choosing targets for my javelin men, and they're in skirmish mode, so I'm not really worried about them getting, you know, hit or engaged at all. They'll just run away, which is exactly what you want. But here I am talking, you know, again, I'm just trying to delay these guys, and, you know, I'm thinking of this as the backfield, but, you know, on the north side, just to keep them from outflanking me, I'm trying to get rid of their ranged dudes here, and I'm, you know, really I'm just buying all the deaths that I've had with this wing of cavalry. But luckily, these guys have turned their back on me and they've marched away. So things are looking pretty good here, and I've got a chance to take out some more ranged characters. But here I decided to harass these spearmen, because I didn't want them to flank my main spear line. And, you know, these two units in the backfield here, they're really just giving up their lives in a delaying action, you know, fighting a noble fight so that Macedon can win the day. And here you see my plans going into fruition here. All the units are bunching up. They're turning toward my spears. These guys are still, it looks like, you know, marching into place, because that phalanx formation, it marches very slowly. So here we are, just unpausing the battle a little bit, getting a close look at my cav running down the slingers. Noble men of Macedon cutting down the Thracian scum. I mean, look at them. Their backs are to us. They think they're gonna get us with their slings, which again are, you know, pretty cool weapons. But they can't. I mean, you know, they're gonna be routed. These guys, you know, I'm just trying to get them to turn, which I did. Now I'm trying to, you know, I thought that this was a single guy, but didn't see that other little knot up there. But I got both units to pause in their advance and then just went around them, which, you know, at this point I'm just having fun out here. You know, there's no way I'm gonna let them, or at least I don't want to let them hit those spears. But I also don't want them to get there in time to flank me. So here we have, you know, all his infantry in a big knot, having to turn around and face my infantry. And so here is exactly the situation we wanted. You know, the only thing that sucks is that spear unit in the backfield there. But as you'll see, it's not really that big of an issue. So I've got them where I want them now, and I can get my cavalry in place. And that's what I started doing. So, we're about to come out of the woodworks, boil out of the forest like madmen and unleash hell on the Thracian army. Today is going to be the day they regret being alive. This is that day. And here I was just trying to get one charge on the spearmen, and they were kind of taking care of the slingers. Oh, sorry people, it's late. I'm on Memorial Day evening when I'm recording this, and I've been kind of tired all day. But okay, so now I'm moving my cavalry out of the woods and into position so I can take these guys in the flank. And my other wing's got a long way to travel, but here in a moment I start setting things up for them. And I think these guys actually did get set up to attack my cav. And I think I tried to save them, but I don't remember. I mean, we'll find out if they get saved or not, but they're awful close to those spears. But they've fought a noble battle, and they've earned us time, which is exactly what they were supposed to do. Alright, so the battle's progressing pretty well. These light horse are still hanging out, which they really need to get lost. But we're going to charge out with our cavalry anyway, and you're about to see something awesome. How an outnumbered force, can use the terrain and fight with, just a little bit of tactics, just a little bit, and prevail. I mean, this is a move that I'm pretty proud of right here. I'm surprised that it actually worked out the way it did, because like I said, when you set a trap, 9 times out of 10 it just doesn't work. But this time, things came together beautifully. And the moment when it happens is pretty amazing. How you can just cause an army to rout, just hitting them at the right time with the right amount of force from the right angle, and next thing you know, you're winning the day. And this is, this game is like, it's certainly not realistic, but I think it's realistic enough to be fun. And, it works on a lot of basic rules. I don't know what, voodoo math they do to determine all the, the probabilities with the, what units are stronger than others. I'm sure it's all just math. But, it's just so much fun. It works on some basic principles. Yeah, spearmen, you got to take them in the flank or in the rear. Cavalry's, awesome if you're flanking something, or if you've got shot cavalry like the companions there, you can use them to break a hole in an infantry line. Also great for harassment, Swords beat spears most of the time, but spears defending against swords is better. And here you're about to see what happens when you get things set up exactly the way you want them. And see, you got a unit routing already in the press there, because they can't get past those Macedonian spears. And now you've got cavalry coming out of the woods on both sides of the battlefield, and out of nowhere, you thought you were like, you thought you had me outnumbered 1,000 to 1, or whatever, not 1,000 to 1, but you thought you had 1,000 extra men, and it turns out not so. and I've got you exactly where I want you. I mean, I love mousing over those sometimes, just seeing the red lines, like, oh yeah, it's still working out. They're still on track. And so here you can see me messing around with the cavalry on this side of the battlefield, trying to figure it out. The only thing that sucks about Total War, or Rome 2, sometimes is the pathfinding on it. Like sometimes you'll have a guy like this. I'll say charge these dudes, and he'll charge straight through those trees and everything. Knowing damn well he should probably go around them. So sometimes you've got to direct your units around hazards and stuff like that. Or you'll tell him to go, like if I told him to go over there and he decided to go all the way around the battlefield for some reason because there was a rock in his path. Sometimes things like that happen as well. But, here, I just wanted to charge. Because, things are about to get very interesting. And just watch the balance of power meter there in the lower left-hand corner. The red and yellow meter. And, watch the yellow just overtake the red. This is pretty awesome. So you see we got the companions charging in, but already I've got to take them around those bushes and everything, because those bushes will just slow down their charge, and their shock cavalry, all their powers in their charge. You see here, you see the citizens headed for the skirmishers, and at this point I'm thinking, oh shit, they're gonna hit this infantry, whatever they are, and they just get around them here. I thought, close enough to shave, man. And that has the benefit of turning those guys around to face the wrong direction, and the companions come out of the woods behind them. And look, you can already see a bunch of units routing there after having been hit with the Sarissa cavalry. And now these guys, I'm trying to direct them around some bushes and everything. And so we still got these guys, sort of on the north side, but these winded and chewed up cavalry units out here have been harassing them for long enough that I was able to surround his other forces with my cavalry. And you're about to see just how awesome it was that it all worked out. So you can see his entire left flank of infantry there is routing now. And the right flank thinks it's gotten off scot-free until here comes the other wing of cavalry out of the woods. And I'm going to charge them at the flanks. And we're going to see what happens. And just like that, they're surrounded. And so there you see his light horses routing already. These skirmishers are routing. And I almost got my guys taken by these, whatever they were. I moused over them there. I didn't even see. What does that say? Oathsworn? Oathsworn, yeah. Heavy melee infantry. And so now I'm going to sandwich in between two cavalry units. And look, now his whole infantry line is routing just like that. All his units are going to drop off. Check the balance of power in the lower left hand corner, and you can just watch it climb. And that's how you fight when you're outnumbered. You just try to use the assets you have as intelligently as possible. And all I did here was a little hammer and anvil action. Maybe kind of a pseudo oblique advance, not quite, with the infantry line there, like moving one side to the left and another side to the right just to get him to move. Man, see, these Thracians thought they could just come here, attack us from behind when we're besieging their city, which rightfully belongs to us, because, you know, everything we see is ours. And, you know, this is the hard lesson they've learned. You know, the gods are with Macedon, obviously. What were they thinking? What were they thinking? You know, some lessons in life are hard learned, and this is one of them. This is one of them for Thrace. How dare you, Thrace? How dare you? But now that I've broken his infantry, you know, that entire line is routing before these guys can get here. So now, no matter what he does, I'll be able to surround him because I've got more cavalry on the field than he has infantry. So I can surround him, I can charge, you know, each one of his spear units from two sides, and, you know, I'll take them out easily that way. And his skirmishers stand absolutely no chance against my cavalry. So, just like that, you know, the majority of his army is broken and fleeing the battlefield. And we've won the day. And, you know, now we can just kind of enjoy the slaughter as it plays out. You know, just stomp all his units into the dust, you know, trample them beneath our boots. And then we'll probably go salt some fields or something cool like that, you know, maybe get drunk. Oh, but what did I do here? Like, yeah, this is one of those things where I'm like, why is he charging into the trees? I don't even remember what I told him to do. But yeah, we've got a lot of movement in this section of the battle. Because now all the cavalry units are forming back up, kind of in the middle of the battlefield, and his other units have now arrived. And so, you know, they've got to see all this and realize they're outnumbered. You know, I'm talking about these guys as if it's not a computer. But I've got to apologize, guys. My throat is just a little sore today as well. And here I'm trying to tell these guys to form back up. And you can just see the dead littering the ground there at their feet. I'm telling them, like, get out of those corpses. Okay, so now you see some of his levy freemen are breaking there on the right hand side of the screen. The others on the left hand are routing. Looks like they're just trying to stay hidden. And I'm not even bothering to attack most of these guys because they're running. They're absolutely no threat at this point. And so now he's got this small infantry line and one unit of skirmishers. And I've got all these hoplites, cavalry, and javelin men. Plus a royal peltis. So as you can see, the balance of power has pretty much completely reversed from what it was when they first attacked me in the rear. You know, that's a pretty good turnaround, if I do say so myself. And I mean, you can just see the dead littering the battlefield. I mean, you know, we really took it to him this time. We really took it to him. At this point, I can't tell if he's fleeing or if he's moving toward me. It's hard to tell. But I think I was trying to tell these guys to move forward, and then they didn't for some reason. But yeah, this is where I'm trying to draw new infantry lines. I kind of want to make a deformed L in a way. Because that will allow, you know, my larger spear force will be more threatening to him, so he'll have to turn around and meet it. And with the other two units out to the flank, you know, it pretty much turns into a meat grinder. But that's only if it works. which again, traps rarely work. Now we got those hoplites on the move. And, you know, one thing I like about this is a lot of the shields, I mean, they're not unique, obviously, they're just mixed, but, you know, they're mixed well enough that they make it look pretty good. But here we have, you know, everything right here ended up as well as it possibly could have. You know, our trap cleaned the enemy out. We're now the superior force on the field. We can surround them anytime and just, you know, wring their necks for having displeased us. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? How dare you? They're about to learn. But, you know, now the battle, you know, it drags on for a little while at this point. And, I can't remember much. I was pretty much just waiting on him to march up and do something. Because I wanted to keep my troops well rested. He's already walked his guys all the way across the battlefield, and I wanted him to keep marching until he met my spears, so that, you know, he was exhausted by the time he got there, and my guys were still fresh. Which, you know, makes a big difference, but I think it, you know, I'm unsure of how big a difference in, you know, the game itself. Oh yeah, but here I am charging some of these freemen before they can get in behind my hoplites, which forces them to try and form up to face me, and it doesn't look like they got it in time. Only problem is that it's light cavalry versus light infantry, so we'll see what happens. But it's enough to delay them anyway, which is all I really wanted. But yeah, it looks like I'm charging a lot of them off the field. These guys just don't even have any ammunition left. They tried to flank one of my Macedonian hoplites, but I couldn't do it. Okay, here I am just trying to tighten up some spots in the line. Make sure everybody's good. And none of the units are so depleted that, you know, they're basically worthless. Now everybody's routing. It's a chain rout. Just like that, all his units are gone except for his general unit. I mean, this is just an amazing turn of events. So we routed the majority of not just one army, but two today. The glory of Epona and the garrison army. I mean, we stomped them into the dirt, which was pretty awesome. And now we're just pretty much playing cleanup because, I mean, this guy's charging us headlong and kind of a suicide deal. Everybody else is running away. I mean, he's done. And that will be the end of Thracia's army. And I'm pretty sure they don't have a lot of resources to raise, you know, several large armies. But who knows? Maybe these levy freemen and all these guys are, you know, pretty much really cheap in the way of upkeep, because in the way of combat ability, they're freaking worthless, as you can see. But, you know, he only had one unit of cavalry on the field, which, you know, just provided me with such a huge advantage. You know, I got lucky here because I had really good spear infantry. I had the hoplites, which are, I don't know if it's heavy or very heavy spear infantry, which, you know, which is awesome. And now we're going to take a ride with our cavalry to hit their general in the rear. And, you know, just so we can see what it's like when they crash through the, through the battle lines. And here you can see their backs are turned, but there was one guy looking back, and then I just cut right into their ranks. I mean, how amazing is that? And yet they're still fighting. I mean, these guys have a high morale, but here you can say he's shaken, exhausted. It says the and now boom, routing, and that's the end, people. That's the end of Tillis's main army. I'm guessing what's their main army. What is their main army? You've just watched Thracia break itself on Macedonian spears and be stomped beneath the hooves of Macedon's cavalry. I mean, look at that heroic victory. I mean, I think that's the first heroic victory I've ever gotten. I mean, look at that. We deployed 1,700 men. We only lost 200. And we killed 2,006 men. He only has 221 left. I mean, wow. Wow. And as the battle duration is 12 minutes long. That is hilarious. And that's just smart tactics, I guess. I was pretty proud of that battle, and in this one I'm pretty sure we released everybody so I can occupy the city later, which is exactly what happens. But anyway, that'll do it for Total War Tuesday this week. I'm D.W. Hawkins, author of the 7 Signs series, which again you can find on Amazon. Book 1 begins with Child of Flames. Don't forget to check the links in the description for the free novella ebooks that you can get, and there'll be more of those in the future. The promotions are good until May 31st, so get down there and get as many free books as you want. And again, mine is in there, The Killings at Rockman's Ford. Check that out as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out the website. Sending you much love. We're going to sign off this week. Take it easy. Goodbye.